Hello YouTubers, fellow hams, and shortwave listeners. Here is another installment of information about Skywave Linux version 4. Today we're going to talk about the SDR operating parameters script. Its purpose is to help you quickly calibrate your device so that you know the frequency offset and can apply that in other applications and tune spot on to the stations that you want to hear. Also, it will save your preferred gain, it will save your geographic coordinates, and you can pull up information about the device from the SOPI SDR utility that's in the computer. Let's bring it up and take a closer look at the app. Notice here, it reminds you of the basic purposes of the script. Manage RTLSDR frequency calibration and gain. Calibration uses measurements of GSM base stations. Device gain is saved for reference by other applications. So there are small files. Other applications can be programmed to read those files and use the numbers. Please be patient. It's a slow process. Yes, it is. This thing uses the Kalibrate-RTL utility, and what it does to calibrate your device is it tunes to the GSM frequencies, checks all of the channels, determines which channel is the best to use, and then it goes to that channel and takes several measurements of the frequency offset. It averages them, and then it tells you the frequency offset is such and such. Now, I have programmed this script to take that information and save it to a file. And that file is what can be read by Dump 1090 or other applications. Now here is a reading of the files currently here on the machine. The default, and this is for Skywave Linux version 4, I have pre-programmed those files so that the device string is RTLSDR, key is RTL0 equals 0, offset 0, gain 20, geographic position 40.6 north latitude, minus 73.8 west longitude. If you plot those on a map, you will find a location just a few miles south of Kennedy Airport in Jamaica Bay. The reason that point is not on Kennedy Airport is because I rounded to 1 decimal place, and you need to use 2 decimal places to accurately put a marker on Kennedy Airport. Now there's one thing about this Kalibrate-RTL utility. It needs a ballpark number for the offset in order to accurately find the channels. If your device has a small offset, you can go with offset 0. The device that I have plugged into this computer today has a rather large offset. It's about 45 ppm. That's not good. And in fact, it's large enough for this utility to not find any GSM stations if I just run this thing with a 0 offset. So I'm going to give it a number manually and put it in the ballpark, and then run this application again and let it refine and find an accurate ppm offset. Let's do a couple of things first. I'm going to show you the check SOPI SDR device information. So this goes to the SOPI SDR util Find, and it will find devices and tell us what it knows about the devices. So here it is, found device 0, which is an audio device. Device 1 is also an audio device. That's because we have Pulse Audio and ALSA on here, and there's an audio interface, obviously. Device number 2 is, in fact, RTLSDR. It's a generic 2832 unit. And it tells us there what it believes the product is. What it believes, because it doesn't necessarily have to be this. That's what it finds. And that's what is in the lookup table for this USB identification that it gets. The tuner is the R820T. Okay, so let's go back in there and program an offset that will at least get this thing into the ballpark so that it can find GSM channels. So we bring up the script and we manually program the SDR offset. One quirky thing about the tiling window manager is that some windows come up small. Some of them tile and cover the whole screen. This is one of them. So the offset, let's tell it 40. All right. An offset of 40 ppm has been written to the file. User local etc SDR offset. This is the file that holds that offset data. Pardon. So if you are writing a script and want to read the offset that's been saved, tell the script to read this file, and the number there will be the offset. Okay, let's go to work tuning and calibrating. This time we wanted to go to GSM 850 megahertz band. Find us a station. Now notice that there is no feedback while it's trying to find channels. If it can find a channel, it'll come back and tell us that it has found a channel. We acknowledge with an OK, and then it will go and calibrate on that channel. If it cannot find a channel, an error message will return. The error message will say, "Sorry, I cannot find a usable channel." The other error message you might see, if it finds a channel and it cannot determine the ppm offset, it will say, "Sorry, I was unable to find the offset." And that's it. You just don't know. You're going to have to go out and manually tune around yourself, figure out what your offset is, and then you can program it yourself. So currently it's working. To avoid boredom, I'm going to pull up a lightning map, and let's find out where the worst QRN is today. Usually when I'm tuning around, looking for interesting aeronautical activity or news, I'll try to avoid listening from areas that have a lot of thunderstorms, because it's too noisy. It's much easier to find an SDR site that is in a quiet location. My favorite site for checking lightning maps is blitzertum.org. They have a network of volunteers with receivers set up to detect, and using time distance of arrival, they'll locate the lightning. Now, look at what this says here. Calibration and gain, something went wrong. Could not find a usable channel. So acknowledge with an OK. I'm going to unplug and replug the device just to make sure it's able to tune and start looking again. Let's bring up the script. All right, instead of GSM 850, let's go to GSM 900. Okay, so it's going back, searching again. And what is going on today? Wow. There's quite a lot of lightning activity over the eastern United States and also Eastern Europe and the Philippines and even mainland China in the Shanghai area. Well, that's not any fun. Hey, I know a couple of golfers that should maybe choose a day like today and go golfing in Ohio. What do you think? I know one guy likes to wear a red hat. Let's send his ass out onto the golf course. Get some lightning. Save the world. Alright, that's enough of that. I'm going to limit my rants about that person and get back on topic. Oh, that's a long line of thunderstorms. Look at that. Chicago, northern Indiana, southern Michigan, Toronto, all the way across the eastern Great Lakes. That is going to be quite a mess. We're already into the afternoon hours in the east. Those storms have a long way to go before they run out of energy. So the calibration script is still running. It still has not found us a channel, and there are no messages. While we're waiting, let's talk a bit about the window manager. Again, remember, this is a keyboard-oriented Linux system. So instead of doing things the hard way, like exiting through the menu, do it the easy way on the keyboard with your left hand. Shift, Super, Q. That fast, that simple. There have been a few questions from people asking about how to get out of Skywave Linux when they're running this system. The way to get out is Shift Super E for exit. Hey, channel 64 was found here. Look at that. So it's going to use channel 64. Okay, now if you want to exit, remember I showed you Shift Super E, and you get these choices: log out, reboot, shut down. If you want to terminate your exit and stay in the system, just use the escape or enter key. Calibration and gain is back again. It says an offset of 43 ppm has been written to the file. User local etc SDR Offset. That file has just a number 43 written into it. Okay? So there it is. So when I talk about other scripts or applications using the saved data, what I mean is that that data is saved to small files, and the scripts will need to read that file. Here is an example. This is the dump 1090 script as used in Skywave Linux version 4. For the ppm, the script reads the file with the ppm number in it. It reads that number, stores it in a variable, and it is used down here to invoke dump 1090. Dump 1090 actually is set up so that the SDR, whether it's a RTLSDR or other SOAPy device, it will run and it will dump the data into what's called a FIFO or a Linux pipe. Dump 1090 will read that pipe and extract the data and decode it and do its own job with ADSB signals. The SDR gain is also saved to a file, and it's this file here called SDR gain. The device driver is saved here. The SOAPy SDR key number is saved here, and these all go into variables. They all go into variables, and those are used here. ppm, gain, driver, the device key. We move that data from the SDR around in what's called a pipe or a FIFO in Linux. So that's what this variable is. There's a lot of data being manipulated in these scripts. But the main point is the parameters can be saved to a file and they can be read from a file in other scripts and used. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Let's take a look at one of the things that will use the offset data. That's multi-channel ACARS. Multi-channel ACARS is a great thing. This is something that we would not have if not for the era of software-defined radio. It can listen on several frequencies at once. And those frequencies are stored in a file, and it's telling you right here, these are the frequencies that it will listen to simultaneously. There's also a VDL Mode 2 listener, and it can simultaneously listen on these frequencies here. These are the frequencies that are most commonly used around the world, but you can edit that list. If you want to edit ACARS frequencies, you select Edit ACARS Freaks, and the Nano editor will come up, and there's a list, one frequency per line. Put in the frequencies you want. Make sure they're reasonably close together because the SDR is going to simply select a high sampling rate and center itself in the band here, and then simultaneously listen to those. When finished, Control X, and you exit. I want to make sure you understand that, so let's go back again to multi-channel ACARS. Suppose you have a group of VDL Mode 2 frequencies that are different, or you want to add something or maybe delete something out. You can do that. Just select Edit VDL Mode 2, click OK. The Nano editor will come up in your terminal, and you can edit any of these. Suppose there was noise on frequency 136975. I can just take it out. Suppose I didn't want 136.875. Take it out. Suppose I only listened on one frequency, 136.725. Well, there it is. Whatever the frequencies are that you want to listen to, you put them in. Control X. Nano will ask you, are you sure? Do you want to save the modified buffer? The modified buffer is this file. It's in memory, in a buffer. So say yes with the letter Y, and it will say file name to write, user local, let's see, VDL frequencies in this case. Just hit enter. Then it'll save them. Your frequencies are there. And then after you edit those frequencies, you go back, and for voice, you tell it to start multi-channel voice. Correction, you tell it to set channels and start. If you change the frequencies, then you need to use the set channels option and run. The multi-channel ACARS script is perhaps just a bit simpler in that after you change the frequencies, you don't have to tell it to set channels and run. You just tell it to run. Run ACARS DEC for conventional ACARS. Run VDL Mode 2 DEC for the Mode 2 action. Once you start this application, the boxes disappear and you do not have any visual feedback. What you will get is a file in your home folder containing downloaded data from the aircraft overhead, and the database reader will open up so that you can scroll through the database and look at the messages. Now, when you don't want to run that anymore, when you want it to stop and relinquish use of your SDR device, you come over here to stop, and you click OK, and that will kill everything. At that point, your SDR is free to use on something else. Gqrx is one of the applications which can read the ppm offset. Let's come over here and take a look. Input controls. Notice that it indicates 0 right here, right? Let's call it 0.5. Let's say we had 0.5 in there, and we were running at 0.5. Notice that that's not enough on my hardware. I have a narrow bandpass selected. In receiver options, the AM bandpass is about 4 kilohertz, and it's not enough. I'm trying to listen to a VOR station on 117.0. All I hear is noise, can't hear jack. And that's how it is on narrow bandpasses for AM. For FM, you won't have so narrow a bandpass, but you can still miss stations if your tuning is not accurate. Now, if I open this thing up to, let's say, 24 kilohertz wide, which is far more than enough for AM, you can hear the VOR in there. Here's the Morse identifier. But I like to listen for a lot of DX, a lot of weak signals, and I tend to use 3, 4, 5 kilohertz bandpass, and that's definitely not enough for this. So, let's go back. Let's make sure that this thing can take the offset. Where is it? SDR operating parameters. Now we had 43 in here, but for some reason it did not write to the config file for Gqrx. So I'm going to do it again. Where is it? Manually program SDR offset. I'm just going to write it in this time. Let's call it 43 and save it. I believe the problem is that Gqrx initially does not have a section in the config file for the offset. Until you actually set one, then it puts it in the config file. The operating parameters script goes through the Gqrx config file and it looks for the section on an offset. If it can't find it, it just doesn't do anything to the file. Since we set one earlier and then ran the calibration script, you should see it. Let's take a look. Input controls. Yep, there it is. See? 43 ppm. Let's start the receiver. And there it is. You can hear the Morse identifier. On a nice narrow 4 kilohertz bandpass. Everybody's happy. How narrow can we get here? There's 2.4 kilohertz wide. That's wide enough for listening to these Morse identifiers, but it's not good for voice. It doesn't sound good at all. But with 43 ppm set as the offset, this is accurate tuning. It's dead on. So, I quit that one the hard way. What else is there? I think I've covered the main topic for this video. Now I'm just fishing around for something to talk about before I turn off the screen recorder. I don't think there's any new material, nothing that you haven't seen already or shouldn't be able to figure out on your own. Let's try something. We just saw a lot of thunderstorm activity out there. Let's have a little fun here. Other bookmarks. Where is LiveATC.net? Here we go. LiveATC.net. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we check Chicago O'Hare, or do we want to listen to Detroit Metro? Let's go find a large airport affected by thunderstorms. We'll tune in the tower and see what's going on. Let's find out if there's a ground stop. Or maybe we'll go to Tracon and find out if there's a lot of holding and deviating around weather. Just for fun. We're up to about 24 minutes in this video. If the internet will cooperate, we'll go and check this stuff. Find out what's going on. ARTC, let's try KORD. Because Chicago is my kind of town. Chicago, Chicago, my kind of town. Chicago, Chicago, I'll show you around. As you can see, the internet is a bit slow. Not too bad. Some days it's faster, some days it's slower. Okay, let's find the tower. Approach, clearance, departure, ground, tower. Here we go. No, not the archive. I'll only do this for a moment. The LiveATC.net people probably frown on folks recording and rebroadcasting their content, so to avoid copyright strikes, it's just like playing music. We'll tune in just to show what it is, how it sounds, and then move on. All right, folks. Nobody is rebroadcasting the entirety of your stuff. This is fair use. Any day now. Google Tag Services. Suppose I'm listening from a place where Google is blocked. Can't you guys figure out something else to use besides Google Tag Services, doggone it? So, now you know the subject for our next video. It's going to be VPN usage and operating from behind corporate, school, or national firewalls. We're going to go into the VPN. WireGuard works very nicely on this system. And also Lantern. Lantern works really well too. Any day now, ladies and gentlemen. What usually happens if Google is being blocked is the site will try to use this resource and it will time out. And after it times out, then I have the content on the page. How about it, mofos? Oh, this is so irritating. Control, Shift, Q, Control, Super Q. Let's do something else. Let's try listening in the MP3 player. Is this thing smart enough to bring up VLC? Let's find out. Open with VLC, yes. Hot dog. See? Modern technology is actually smart enough to work around problems. It may take a moment to buffer, and then we should hear audio. Alright, the clock is running. That means we are receiving.
Skywave 5551, turn right heading 360, runway 28 right into number 5, clear for takeoff.
Okay. SkyWest is taking off runway 28 right at Chicago. They're working.
Runway 28 center, clear to land. Clear line 28 center, American 14.
And Americans landing, 28 center, so the 28s are in use. not just 28 right.
Tower 35. We're going to Golf 14. Golf 14, thank you.
That's a noisy receiver site. That person should use a better antenna
Departure on 12662
and
today.
move their house closer to your heart. What do you think? Is that nice to complain about a site being run by a volunteer at his own time and expense that's putting this up? Hey, we appreciate it. We listeners,
American 2431 at Golf Golf
people in
cross,
cyberspace.
Right, turn left November, contact ground on 49. Okay, Golf Golf cross 28 right, left November, and ground for 9.
Hey, it sounds like O'Hare's working okay. Thunderstorms are not bothering them too bad.
Runway 28 right, November 5, clear for takeoff.
Yeah.
Delta 996, runway 28 right, November 5, bottom for Waveland 230 at 17, Golf 23.
The winds are a bit gusty out there. You can hear that. Nobody's reporting rain or low visibility.
Circus 66, 94 heavy, affirmative. Traffic short final. Envoy 3926, turn right Papa 2, turn right Papa, hold short Hotel Hotel.
Yeah, O'Hare's as busy as it always is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's enough fun with SDRs today. I hope this helps. And be sure to tune in for more videos, subscribe, and click like if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I'm going to show you one more time, in case anyone missed it or slept through my bit about how to exit Skywave Linux. There are two ways. The i3 way is to use Shift Super E for exit, and then you log out, reboot, or shut down, or simply escape or enter. You can hit enter, and that also works. Let me demonstrate it. Let's clear this. I started rambling on the keys a little bit. You can hit the enter button and it works. Another way to get out is to use the Mate way. Remember, this is Ubuntu Mate, and that involves Control-Alt-Delete. If you use Control-Alt-Delete, you'll get the conventional Mate shutdown dialog. And then you make your choice. Suspend, restart, shut down. In my case, I'm going to cancel because we're doing a screen capture and I want the file. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your day. See you in the next video.